Are Marvel movies getting worse? This is from the Direct. Here's what the data says. After reaching heights no movie franchise ever deemed to reaching, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, has seemingly been living in its own shadows since Avengers Endgame. The Infinity Saga was 23 movies over 11 years that weave dozens of characters, stories, and moments together into one of the most critically acclaimed sagas in movie history. After a lost year due to the pandemic, fans and critics alike seem to agree that the MCU has yet to get back to the success of its glory days. But are the MCU movies actually getting worse? 3 metrics are key to answering the question. Rotten Tomatoes is a percentage of positive reviews. Metacritic is a weighted score by industry professionals, and CinemaScore is a grade from eager moviegoers. So diving into the numbers for the MCU, here's a look at how Phase 4 and 5 are keeping up with the golden era of comic book content. Versus Rotten Tomatoes. And we all know Rotten Tomatoes, they like to monkey around with their algorithm a little bit. The Rotten Tomatoes critic score is actually not a rating at all. It is an enjoyment metric that shows the percentage of positive reviews from verified critics. In layman's terms, it is a measurement of how much critics believe audiences should go to see a movie or watch a show. Key metric, 75%, which is the threshold between a movie that is considered fresh and certified fresh. Anything below 60 is considered rotten. Critics seem to have appreciated the MCU early, with only 3 of the 12 movies in phases 1 and 2 falling below 75%. Then they all became super fans throughout phase 3, with the only one out of 12 being Captain Marvel, falling below 80, and Captain Marvel came in at 79. Phase 4 follows the most critically acclaimed phase with the most polarizing. Not only did phase 4 have the highest percentage of movies underneath that certified 75% threshold, but it also features the MCU's first rotten movie in The Eternals. Yes, The Eternals was terrible. And not only didn't the critics like it, the fans didn't like it either. I'm one of those fans. It is important to note that when Phase 4 hits, it hits hard. Or as we like to call, Phase Bore. While only 3 movies were given a certified fresh rating, Shang-Chi, don't know how that happened. Spider-Man No Way Home, that's the anomaly. Black Panther 2, haven't seen it, not planning on seeing it. Those movies averaged 89%, with both Shang-Chi and No Way Home joining the coveted 90% club that only 12 MCU movies belong to. Phase 5 was positioned to be the saving grace for the new era multiverse saga. It tripped coming out of the gate with a rotten MCU film, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which sits at 47%. And yes, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania stinks. In fact, I even said they ripped off some Star Wars in that movie. Not great news critically for the first proper introduction of the saga's biggest bad so far, that being Kang. The Metacritic score is most closer to an actual movie rating. Metacritic compiles reviews from a variety of critics and combines them in a way to formula that gives well-established writers more value. So we're going to skip down here a little bit. While Metacritic took more time to warm up to the MCU, still only 3 movies fall below a 60% mark through Phase 2. Iron Man 2, Thor, and Thor the Dark World. Phase 3 followed the same pattern as Rotten Tomatoes, with no movies falling below 60% and the average skyrocketing from 65 to 73. Phase Bore tanks that progress again, with the average falling back down to 64% and the lowest Metacritic score in the MCU. Again, The Eternals with 52. Phase 5 started off, Ant-Man and the Wasp, 48. The better movies of the multiverse saga so far have performed very well, but do not stand out as much as they did on Rotten Tomatoes ranking. Phase Bore is the first MCU phase without a movie that surpasses a 75% Metacritic score. Critic score trends. From there, it is a story of hits and misses for the multiverse saga, and not a ton in between. The only actual bright spots for the critics in Phase 4 and Phase 5 are Shang-Chi and No Way Home. I still don't get Shang-Chi. It was not that good of a movie. It was okay. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. One is an origin story for arguably the fourth most popular Marvel Comics martial artists. And the other is the only movie that can rival the magnitude of Avengers Endgame. The concerning aspect of these numbers is that legacy franchises outside of Spider-Man are not living up to their predecessors. After 2 phases of being last in average critic score, the Thor franchise went on to have Phase 3's third best ACS with Ragnarok. Thor Love and Thunder follows that up in tying Dark World for its lowest ACS of the franchise at 60%. Doctor Strange debuted The Master of the Mystic Arts with an impactful 81% ACS, tying Shang-Chi for the second highest rated true MCU origin movie behind Iron Man. Doctor Strange Mom comes in with an ACS of 67%, the second largest drop ever for an MCU sequel. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is above 75% ACS, and by all accounts, a top shelf, critically acclaimed MCU movie. They couldn't get Namor right, but it pales in comparison to the original Black Panther at 92%. Cinema Score does grading scale on 0 to 100. The key metric is visual purposes and comparisons to Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. The letter grades have been converted to percentages within the grading scale. By the time the Avengers came around in 2012, it was smooth sailing for Marvel Studios and their fan base. Of the 17 remaining movies in the Infinity Saga, only 2 received lower than an A grade. Those 2 being Thor the Dark World and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which were both A minuses. Heading into the multiverse saga, they couldn't miss 3 movies into Phase 4 and are now statistically infamous Eternals. Marvel Studios received their first B minus. That was followed by 2 more B grades to close Phase 4 and another B minus to open Phase 5 with Quantumania. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to skip a lot of this just to summarize this. Comparing the ACS and the average audience score tells the story how Marvel Studio movies are trending post-Infinity Saga. Critics and audiences alike are taking the MCU one movie at a time. I know I am. Wakanda Forever is the only one that I've missed so far. A handful of big hits in Phase 4, along with a few Marvel's biggest misses, make the MCU's most polarizing phase. The biggest highlight of this chart falls at the very end with Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania, the polarizing Phase 5 leadoff movie, holds the second largest gap between critics and audiences, only behind the suspect scores of Captain Marvel. And that is because that is at the time when the algorithm changed on Rotten Tomatoes. So they could prop that up. This is a sign that fans are willing to be ready for Phase 5 to deliver on the foundational vibe of Phase 4. Critics, on the other hand, seem to be in a position where Marvel Studios has to earn it again. I would almost say audiences want Marvel to earn it again. Not just the critics. Audiences, fans. I don't agree with that statement there. The last time critics were this low on the MCU was Thor the Dark World. Marvel Studios responded with 2 of the most beloved movies in the Infinity Saga with Captain America Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Up next for Marvel Studios, a similar back-to-back that might be just what the MCU needs to get back on track. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I am looking forward to because it is going to be the last Guardians movie. Looks to provide a little bit of a spark, and I will contend that that should let off Phase 5. And then we have the Marvels, which has been delayed or pushed back 4 times, and I think that is going to be a total stinker. The reality of the situation is that Marvel Studios is at a crossroads. They've been at a crossroads for a while. Critics are trending out of favor for Hollywood's biggest franchise, while fans are hanging in there loyal and in desperate need to be blown away. I think the fans are not too happy with Marvel either. At least those of us that pay attention. The normies, they'll go watch anything. The rest of 2023 theatrical slate for Marvel Studios is a make or break moment for the Red brand. All the pieces are in place for the first back-to-back critical hit since Phase 3. So tell me, do you agree, disagree? Comment. I'd like to hear your opinion. I thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Please smash that like button, like this video. That helps out with my standing with my channel and the YouTube algorithm. So please subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified when I release new content on a daily basis during the week. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think about where Marvel's sitting at right now with the MCU and going into phase 5? So that's all I have for now, and we will see you guys in the next video.